Now we're done with compacting our good gut back. We're trying to dehydrate the feces so it's not watery when it comes out. And we also want to have our good bacteria do their job and make more nutrition and vitamins. Now you finally have our rectum. So again, the rectum, last stop. Now the thing is that now we're looking at a cross section, and again what we have here is the anal canal, and then we have anal columns, and then we have our anus right here. Now what we have here is that there's actually two sphincters to the anus. There's an internal anal sphincter, and what's the opposite of internal? We have external. So we have two rings, and it doesn't look like a ring again because we're cutting it like this, but there is an internal ring and an external ring. Now I love this TED talk, and yeah, so Dr. Ender, she explains it a lot better than I could, but yeah. And the funny thing is that compared to our fingers and our skin, where our rectum is not as good as detecting. It can detect pressure, but the thing is that it's not very good at determining what it is. It's like, okay, what's stretching it out? Is it something solid or is it something gaseous? And that's why, like, if sometimes if you think it's something gaseous but it's actually solid, that can be a warning sign. That's why if you feel something there, you want to that internal anal sphincter and the pressure in there is going to kind of give you a warning saying like, hey, you got something coming down the hatch, better get to somewhere safe. And hopefully your external anal sphincter, this is the one you're holding on to, whatever's in there, gas or solid, and trying to make it to a safe place where you can deposit it, right? So the internal anal sphincter, that's the first part, and it's a circular smooth muscle. So that's the part the smooth muscle you can't voluntarily contract. So this is parasympathetic. So this is the one first Dr. Enders first talked about. So it's going to open when it detects something over here, and it's going to open up and let it go. And the reg reflex that she talked about, that's triggered by stretching. So it feels something, gas or solid. I mean, again, it's like, this is why it rhymes with fart and it's a 5-letter word. But yeah, when you mistake a gas for a solid or for a gas, it can result in disaster because, again, our intestines aren't good at determining what's exactly coming down there. And then external anal sphincter, this is the one, this is your last stop. So it's kind of good you have this double seal because the internal anal sphincter you can't control. This is the one you're trying to hold on to as you're trying to go to the bathroom. So it's circular skeletal muscle. It's not really controlling a bone here. What it's doing is a ring of muscle that you can contract and relax by, again, thankfully, voluntarily. So voluntary control. And what's happening here? Okay, so this is a great thing. You have a double seal. So this is why it's very good because you don't want the contents of your rectum leaking when you don't want it to. So the internal you can't control, but you can control that last stop. Now, why is that good? So because internal anal sphincter detects something here, it's going to dilate and relax and now allow it to, then you have external anal sphincter, which you can control. And now you can, now that it detects something in between this area, now you can finally get to the bathroom where you can release it. Now, why is this important? Well, what if you switched it? What if your internal anal sphincter was made out of skeletal muscle and your external anal sphincter was smooth muscle? And why does it matter? Well, thing is that if you say for some reason it switched around, well, now you have feces here, and then now you can relax your theoretical internal anal sphincter that's voluntarily controlled. But remember that smooth muscle is not under voluntary control. So even if you have anything left over in this situation, what's going to happen? Well, if there's anything, you're not going to be able to control that last bit that's in there. So that might lead to some very embarrassing accidents. So it's a very good thing that the last stop before feces enters the external environment is something that you can control. And that's why for people who have damage to the muscle or the nerves that control the muscles in the area, or people who are paraplegic or quadriplegic, unfortunately they don't have control of that area. So this is why they might need a diaper, or they might need other ways to collect the feces, because if they don't have control of that, yeah, that's very yeah. Okay, so then fecal color. Now let's end with this. Yeah, so we have to do bowel programs. Yeah. So normally feces is brown, right? But what can turn it green? So what can turn feces green or kind of pale colored or and I have to use cartoons because I think it's a little much for I'm pretty sure Twitch doesn't allow pictures of actual feces and even in person classes I think it's a little much to show pictures of a toilet or actual real feces. Like if you really want to look it up, you can look it up yourself. But again, feces is typically brown. So again, what we have, why is it brown? Well, again, when we have red blood cells recycling, recycle the heme. This heme can be broken down into biliverdin and then bilirubin, and then bilirubin can go to is metabolized by the liver, and then excreted in bile. Then when it reaches your intestines, it can either become yellow urobilin or stercobilin. Sterco is Latin referring to feces, and stercobilin is why our feces is typically brown. Again, urobilin goes to your kidneys, that's why urine is typically yellow. Stercobilin is the one that, yeah, eliminates into urine. So green can be caused by things like, yeah, plants are common, like leafy greens, blueberries, as someone put it in chat. That cannot make your feces turn out green colored. So it might be you're eating a lot of your veggies. But yellow, what can cause that? Yeah, pale color, or not yellow feces, but pale colored feces. Well, remember stercobilin is supposed to be eliminating your feces. But what if you have a liver disease and your bilirubin isn't getting into your intestines? Well, we did cover an example of that earlier in the semester. Remember hepatitis A, or just hepatitis in general? That causes your liver to have problems making bile, so then it's unable to actually put bilirubin in your intestines. So without bilirubin in your intestines, instead of the color going to your feces, it's going to cause that jaundice, that yellow colored skin. But without the stercobilin, that's why pale colored stools are often, and sometimes it's called clay colored stools. I don't know about any clay that's kind of like off white and yellow like that. So yeah, yellow or pale colored stools, they can be liver disease, or if you eat if fatty kind of, it can also, if you have like a lot of fats in your diet, or some combination with liver disease, that can also cause a yellow color as well. Now then, red colored, someone mentioned beets. So what can cause red colored feces? Things like pigments, or even plant pigments like beets. Or if you've ever had a red velvet cupcake, you know that like, oh shoot, it's like turning the toilet red. So, what's another thing that can do it? Oh, now, I haven't tried this, but someone said they ate an entire bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and they said they had red colored poop. So again, things like food dyes or colors or pigments, things you ingest can end up in your feces. Now, what's a little more, if it's like bright red and fresh, then it's like kind of like, okay, maybe that might be bleeding there. Or thing is that people think, oh, it's red, it must be blood. Well, if it's been a while, the red blood eventually turns black. So then if you have black tarry stools, that might indicate, ooh, there might be hemorrhaging somewhere in the GI tract. So typically bleeding is more of a black color than a bright red color. So again, red color, and many things can do that. Like remember, so the thing is that just like how heme becomes green biliverdin, becomes yellow bilirubin, and bilirubin can become brown stercobilin, as chemicals go through your GI tract, they can turn different colors. Yeah, so then what? And yeah, too much iron can also cause black stools as well. Now, black Whopper turns your poop green. Now, I didn't get to try this Whopper, but I think I did. There was a picture online, but I think it was like it's too gnarly to show to class. But I think there was a picture of what it turned it. But yeah, that's why that black pigment and all the cup food dyes they were using, once it goes through your digestive system, it apparently comes out green the other way. And then if you've had, again, red velvet cupcakes, or, allegedly flaming hot Cheetos or whatever, can also turn your poop red because, again, the chemicals are going to end up out of your body some way or another. And I don't think they came out this year, but supposedly this happened, and I had a hard time finding a picture of this. But yeah, I was like, really? Or actually, I wonder if those Lady Gaga ones did something similar. But yeah, I would believe it. So yeah. Thing is, like, things you eat could change the color of your poop, but what are the ones to really watch out for? When your poop lacks color altogether, and what when your feces turns black and tarry. So especially pale or tarry stools, those are the ones you kind of have to watch out for. But again, if it's like green, or if it's like, think about what you ate before, or if it's turning out really strange colors like bright green or that red velvet red or pink, yeah, it might be just what you ate.